Hi everybody, welcome to Wednesday Wise Guys here at the Sewing Basket in Plymouth, Wisconsin. This afternoon we're going to be talking about making cute little dish towels and things that you can do with towels as last minute gifts for the holiday season. I'm going to give you a couple tips and tricks on how to do them, show you a few different projects, and it's not going to take real long because this is a pretty easy project. You start with the dish towel, and the one thing to watch, the nice towels have this little hanger in the corner. Be sure that's at the top because otherwise your cute towel hangs upside down. So you always want to decorate the end opposite the little hook. So on here we just added a band of fabric, and on this one just a straight little band of fabric. And there's a number of different ways you can do this. On this one I did a point, on this one it's straight. You can wrap around the edge. We're going to talk about a couple of those things as we move along here. I'm going to start with the way that I like to do these types of towels. Pick whatever color towel you want. And then I picked this little farm fabric. It's got some cows and pigs on it, and I wasn't quite sure where I want the strip to be cut. I could just cut a strip and turn under the edges. But I like to do it by making a roll, and then I can decide where I want it once that's done. And I'll show you that in a second. So what I do is I'll measure this distance, and I found that if I go from the cow's feet to the bottom of the rooster, that's about 3 inches. So I cut myself a 6.5 inch strip. I haven't trimmed this one down yet. This is Shape Flex. It's a fusible interfacing, and the reason I'm going to put this on the back is, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you can actually see different colors through here. So I want to do a little bit of color blocking. So I take, this is my piece cut to 6.5 inch wide, and I can just lay it right on the back. And I'm going to slide my little pressing mat in front of me. This is the Fusion press. It works out really nice. It's got an ironing surface on one side. The other side is a non-stick Teflon sheet. So it works great for this type of a project. You don't want to steam really heavy and long on top of your cutting mat, but I'm going to just use my little mini iron here, and I'm going to do it real quick. So I have the bumpy or glue side to the back of my fabric, and I just kind of lined it up. I'm going to line this one up using the chicken's feet to get it straight. And then I'm going to press this on here. And it'll stick. Just takes a minute or so, or I should say a few seconds. Okay? And we're going to pretend that's stuck really well. All right, so what that is, this is the piece that I want. I can trim this off, or I can just fold it in half and stitch right at the edge, a 1/4 inch in along here. What I'm doing is just sewing a long tube, okay? And then I'm going to flip it right side out. Hope that makes sense. It really isn't hard. The reason that I added this fusible interfacing is so that you don't see through my fabric. If I've got this here, I could actually see the red of the rooster's comb through the fabric. So that's what that's for, just a color block. So once I sewed that long strip, it gave me a tube, and I flip it right side out. And it's a little bit stiff. That's because of the interfacing inside, but that's what's going to make my towel turn out really nice. And now, when I said I wasn't sure what I wanted to see, I can just roll this, and I can say, okay, there's my edge. If I start with my seam at the bottom, I get a half a chicken and a pig's belly. Not what I want. I can just keep rolling until I get what I like. There I get a cow and a pig and part of a chicken. I can keep rolling along here until I get to, I like this. I have a whole cow, a whole pig, a whole cow, a whole chicken, and part of a chicken.
Hold it up.
Okay. Once I decide where I want it, I'm going to just press my seam in the back, and I just use my fingernails to push the seam allowance to one side, and then I'm going to just grab my little iron again, and I'm going to press this. Should have let my iron warm up a little bit, and I want to use just a little bit. Oh, I just filled my bottle. Use a little bit of best press. We really like these spray bottles. They give you a long stream as you hold it, it just keeps misting. You don't have to keep pumping, which is really nice. And then I'm going to flip this over. Give that side a little mist. That's not a word. Okay. And so now I'm ready to put this across my towel. My ends are not done yet. I have a couple choices on my ends. I'm going to pretend I'm using this towel. This towel I marked with a blue water-soluble line, and I put it up about 6 inches from the bottom. Okay? No magic to that, it's just visually what you like. And then I can take my band and I can line it up right along that blue line, or I can line it up right under that blue line. Okay? Another way to do it is just grab a long ruler, line the bottom of your ruler up with the bottom of your towel, and just lay it right across the edge. Okay? I can pin it in place. I can use a little 505 spray or glue stick to hold it in place. And I'm going to just stitch along my edges. To finish off my sides, because I have a tube, I can just turn these edges in as far as I want it, give it a really nice press. I don't like to wrap around the back because then the back doesn't look as nice as the front. So usually what I'll do is just roll that inside in, roll that end in, and then I press it, and that gives me a nice straight edge. And then I'm going to put that right along my seam allowance. And then I'll go to this side.
Okay, so not all the way to the end.
Not all the way to the end. If you look like the
I'm gonna kind of zoom in.
penguin here is easier to see with those contrast colors.
Yep.
So I just stop rather than wrapping it all the way around the end. Okay? And then I just stitch around. I can use a decorative stitch. I can use a plain stitch if I want to. But then all I have to do is tuck those ends in. Okay, you can say, that wasted fabric. I wasted all this on the back. Okay, well the reason I did that is because I wanted to be able to roll to determine where I was going to put what I wanted to have across the front. I could have cut it all with a ruler and moved everything, but to me this is one seam, roll it to where I want, and I'm ready to go. If I were going to not do that, the issue that you have is burning your fingers when you want to turn your edges under. Okay? I've got my first seam. I can draw a line where I want my chickens to go. We're going to pretend I'm going to put this whole band across here. I can draw my line, line this up, and just stitch across here and fold it up and press it. And that gives me the bottom edge of my towel, but I still need to turn this top edge under. And it's always a little difficult if I want to just turn that under a little bit, that it's really hard to not burn your fingers when you're doing that. So we have a little product here called the hot ruler. And the hot ruler is like a heavy kind of a felt. It's marked, it's 2.5 inches wide, and it's marked with 1/2 inch plus 1/8 inch grids. And the nice thing, although they call it a hot ruler, the nice thing about it is it doesn't get hot, so you don't burn your fingers. So if I want to turn this edge under, just grab my iron here. If I want to turn this under just a 1/2 inch, I line my ruler up. You see that okay, Cheryl?
Yep.
Okay, so I go just like this. and I would use a little best press here too, and just continue rolling that edge right along that blue line on the ruler. And that gives you that really nice pressed edge. If I use a little best press on there, it just sets it right where I needed it to be. And it gives you a nice, clean, crisp edge, and it doesn't burn your fingers. So that's called the hot ruler. One thing that I didn't mention that you probably have figured out by now, everything that we talk about is for sale on our website. Every now and then we'll do a class or a presentation and somebody will raise their hand and say, where can I get one of those? Guess what? You can get them from us. Our website is sewingbasket.biz, and we have a page called Shop. When you go to the shop page, there's a list of categories down the left-hand side. One of the categories says, saw it on video. So the things that we talk about on video, we toss into that category. You can find them quickly. They're also in the tools category or in the fabric category, depending what they are, but they're right on our shop page. So that's the hot ruler. Very handy. And so that would be all set to go. I'm ready to stitch it onto my towel. All right, not hard at all. The next thing I'm going to talk about, and before all of you click off when you hear the word machine embroidery, don't go away yet, because I'm going to show you a cool product that works really nice for sewing as well. If I'm going to embroider a design on this towel, I've marked my crosshairs, meaning a straight horizontal and vertical line with the center of my towel. And I just measured up 6 inches, drew a blue line, and then my towel is 20 inches wide, so I measured 10 inches from the edge of my ruler, and I just put one of the lines along the blue line, and that gives me my crosshair real easily. And I need that to center this project in my embroidery hoop. But on this project, I don't want to hoop my towel. These towels are woven, and they're a fairly loose weave, and I'm afraid if I put it in my hoop, it's going to stretch the towel off kilter a little bit. So I'm going to use a product called Wet and Gone Tacky. And this is where, if you're a sewer, listen to this, because this is cool stuff. It looks like old-fashioned contact paper. One side is shiny, the shiny side goes up. And it's called Wet and Gone Tacky for 2 reasons. One, it's tacky because stuff sticks to it, and 2, it's called Wet and Gone because you get it wet and it goes away. So, as an embroiderer, I can either hoop my towel, or I can hoop just the stabilizer and then stick my towel to it. So, I'm going to put this shiny side up. Again, this is called Wet and Gone Tacky. For those of you who are sewers, keep listening for a minute. Press this in. I should move my ironing mat away here. Okay, so I have this in my hoop, and I grab just a T-pin. I want to just set my ironing mat out of the way. Just grab a pin, and all I'm going to do is gently score it. I'm going to go across here and just around the outer edge. Don't push too hard. You don't want to rip through all the layers of paper. And once it's scored, you peel this up. And this is now sticky. Okay? And I told you quilters to be patient. The reason I told you to be patient is because this is great stabilizer. Sometimes I'm working on a small piece, say I'm appliquing something, and I don't necessarily want to put an interfacing or a stabilizer on the back, but I need to support my stitches. I can take a piece of this and just peel the paper off and stick it to the back of my fabric, and it makes great stabilizer that will wash away as soon as I'm done. So if I'm embroidering, I'm hooping something by just sticking it to the stabilizer. I've got my crosshair marks. I've got my towel all set. I can fold this in, basically on the blue line. And then I'm going to lay this in place and gently open it up And I'm going to look to see that my blue lines are even with the notches on the edge of my hoop. Once I've got it in place, I just push this down. And now I'm ready to go to my embroidery machine and pop it in. I'm going to stitch on here. When I do kitchen towels, I usually use a bobbin thread that matches my design so that I get kind of two color. Or if I don't want my design, if I don't feel like my design is going to stitch two color well, I'll match the stitching on the bobbin to the back of the towel. When I say match your stitching, if you're doing something like a red work design, if you put in a red bobbin, the back will look just like the front. If I'm doing something that's an all-over fill stitch, it won't look that nice on the back. So I stick to here, put it in my machine, and I'm ready to go. Again, if I'm a quilter, I'm going to just cut a piece of this off so you can see what I'm talking about. I can just take this piece, score it with a pin so you can peel it off. Okay. And that gives me a piece of stick-on stabilizer. And so if I wanted to applique on here, I can just stick this to the back. I can do all my stitching on my cow, whatever I'm going to do, and then I can wash it, and this will dissolve away. It will totally go away, but it supported my stitches while I was doing them. So it's a really nice product for some of the quilting projects you're going to do. All right, the next method is using Pellon 911 fusible stabilizer, or interfacing, I'm sorry. This is Pellon 911. There are different brands, different types. This is a light to medium weight fusible stabilizer. The rough side is the bumpy side. That's the glue side. And what I'm going to do is I want to create a design that is finished edge all the way around that I can then fuse to my towel. So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to have my right side up. I'm going to put my glue side face to face with my project. Do not iron it or you will stick the interfacing to the front of your project. I'm just putting it here. I'm going to put in a couple pins and I'm going to flip it to the back where I can see, and I'm going to just sew completely around that design. And miraculously, Tina did that for me, and it's right here. She sewed around. I'm just trimming down to 1/4 inch the excess. I didn't have to do any measuring. I didn't have to cut all my blocks the same size. I took my block a little big and my interfacing a little big.
So you sewed around the white.
Sewed around, excuse me, all 4 sides. Okay, so it's completely closed. I have my fabric and my interfacing.
Inside the white, so there's no red.
Yep. Okay, so now this is ready to go. I'm going to take my handy dandy scissors and I'm going to carefully cut the interfacing, not the fabric. Okay, so I'm going to just get in there. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to just cut a hole in here. And I'm going to reach inside and I'm going to flip it right side out. These are one of my favorite things to do on towels. Pretty much anybody can sew a strip of fabric across and they look cute. But I like to take designs, some panels, different things that are fun. This one's a little big for a towel. I picked a real big one so you can see what I was doing. And what this is doing, I had my point turner here somewhere. Here it is. Sorry about that. This is my little point turner. I can go inside and just, it's got a rounded end, and just gently push my corners out. Okay. And then I'm going to come and I'm going to use my fingers and I'm just going to press down this edge. Just kind of get that fabric out to the edge. I can't iron this because now that I've flipped it right side out, the glue is on the outside, and the proper side, the pretty side of my fabric is out. So I'm going to just use my fingers and get that edge nice and flat all the way around. Okay, and it's ready to go. So I can grab my towel. Ooh, this is really a bad match.
If you had used the non-stick side of that mat, could you have ironed it?
I could have. Cheryl just asked a very good question. If I had used the non-stick side of my mat, I could have ironed it. I can flip this up, and I can iron that edge, and it won't stick to here. It'll peel right off if it does stick. So I can go all the way around, get a nice edge. Don't set that on your cutting table, not a good idea. Okay, so now it's all pressed and pretty, and it's prettier than it's going to be on this blue towel. So here's my towel. Again, remember, this is my corner with my hanger, so that's the top of my towel. And now I can take this and put it anywhere I want. For me, anywhere would be not on this blue towel. But I just lay it in place, and now I iron it. Just fuse it down. This interfacing, the glue side is out, so it's going to stick to the towel. So I iron it in place. I don't want to iron it onto this blue towel. And then just stitch all the way around. And then you have a really cute design on a towel. And that is also how I did this one. This piece with the pointed ends, this was a piece of fusible interfacing that was cut as a strip, and I just cut the corners off on a diagonal. Okay. And I took my piece of fabric and I put, I took my piece of fabric and I put them right sides together, bumpy side to the good side of my stripe, and I sew all the way around. I slash it and I flip it right side out. So it creates this kind of a piece. So this little piece, once it's flipped, the stripe will be on one side and the glue side is on the other. Okay? So again, just to repeat, fusible interfacing, glue side up, good side of fabric to glue side of interfacing. Sew around, trim off the excess, slash the interfacing open, and it's ready to be pressed and attached. Hope that makes sense to everybody. This is another one that was done the same way. Again, it's got the slash in the back. This was a series of coffee fabric that matches the pocket on my apron. And we also, not to have everything be towels, took one of the squares, created it just like this, and just fused it right down to create the placemat. So this method gives you a finished edge applique, for lack of a better term. You can even do round circles. Round circles. All circles are round, aren't they?
Unless they're ovals.
Unless they're ovals, thank you very much. So I had this fabric, and I put the fabric face to face, good side to glue side. I stitched around that little circle, cut it out, slashed it, and flipped it right side out. And I have little tiny things. These are great if you want to like patch your grandkids' jeans, or they've got a stain and you want to cover it up. Fun little things like that work wonders. So that was quick and simple. One last thing, the apron that I'm wearing is also a towel. It is, here's my little hanger. Okay, so all this was a towel. Across the top it was 20 inches. I marked 6 inches off each side and down 14 inches. So I took that towel, so here it is on me. I marked in 6 inches and down 14, and that's what I cut off. and on this side in 6 inches and down 14, and that created my apron. And then I just added a little pocket, and my straps are just a 3-inch strip folded in half and folded in, and they just clamp right over the edge. So it's a really quick little project. We did a full video on making the aprons a couple months back. You can see those on our YouTube channel, which is The Sewing Basket, or on our Facebook page. But lots of fun things you can do with towels. Couple things to talk about that kind of wraps everything up. I don't know if there were any questions. Didn't look like it. It's a pretty simple project. We are online tonight live at 6:30. We are doing different things that you can do as quick last-minute Christmas gifts. A number of them will be pillows, but a variety of other projects that we'll talk about. This is the one I posted the other day, just as a little get you excited about coming. This is actually a memory pillow. It's made from Grandpa's ties, so it's a fun project. Still time to make it before Christmas, and we'll be going through that at 6:30 tonight live, and the videos will be posted tomorrow morning to our YouTube channel. We really appreciate it if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube, just type in The Sewing Basket and click the subscribe button. If you click the little bell up in the right-hand corner, it will notify you whenever we put a new video up, so that's kind of nice. And it's one way you can help support us. The more followers we have on YouTube, the more features become available to us. So we really appreciate it if you like our channel. Again, any products that you've seen are all on our sewingbasket.biz. That's B as in business, I, Z as in zebra. Sewingbasket.biz is our website. You go to the shopping page, you'll be able to find all of the products there, and the videos are all on the Daily Dose page. And I think that's about it for right now. We'll see you tonight at about 6:30. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.